Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shauna. If you're new here, thank you for joining in on this video. So today I decided to do a tag. I know I just did the mid-year freakout tag, but tags are fun and sometimes you run low on ideas. So we're gonna do a tag because I think this one is fun. We're gonna be doing the book readings habit tag. So I have watched other people do this video. I will try to find the original and link that down below so you guys can take a look. But I've seen everyone kind of do this tag. It's been going on for a while. Like, this is not a new tag, but I wanted to do it myself and I wanted to answer these questions, and I didn't answer these questions like before this video. I just have them written down and then I'm just gonna answer them as we go along. So come with me along on this journey. So for the first question, do you have a certain place at home that you do your reading? For this one, I have a couple of different places. Sometimes it's over here. It's not over here as much as you would think, like in my reading corner and in this very comfy, nice chair. But usually I'm sitting on the couch next to Tony while he plays video games or, you know, is doing his own thing, watching a show of his, and if I want to read my book, I will just sit there. The other place that I've been reading a lot actually has been our bed. I love to read right before I go to sleep because lately it's been making me very tired. So maybe it's just the books I'm reading, I don't know. But I like to just lay in bed and have a moment to just decompress and read a book before I try to go to sleep. So the second question is bookmark or random piece of paper? This depends. If it's one of my books, I will usually start off with a bookmark. If I start off with a bookmark, that's what it stays as through that whole book. I don't have too many fancy bookmarks. I have a couple that are just like super nice that sometimes I don't even want to use them because they're so nice. But I have a couple that are cutesy. Oh, I should get one. So actually, Tony and I got engaged last October. So my mom actually made these cute little bookmarks herself and laminated them and like tied a little ribbon on top. So I've been using these because we have like a ton of these now at home, just kind of lying around. Like we took all the extras that were left over. So I've been using these or ones that I just grab for free at the bookstore. I'll just grab a couple or whatever at the library or anything. But if I will say if I'm like traveling or like flying and I buy a book at an airport, I will usually use my boarding pass or the receipt from buying the book. So sometimes it's random piece of paper. Most of the time it's like a legit bookmark. Like I do love bookmarks, so we'll go with that. We're gonna dive in deep into some of my reading habits and who I am as a person. But this next question, can you just stop reading or do you have to stop at a specific page or chapter? Or like, do you have to stop after a chapter or a certain number of pages? So I'm a little OCD and I don't like to stop in like a middle of the chapter. I've gotten better about it, but I used to refuse to stop in the middle of a chapter. I had to finish off the chapter. And this always bugged me whenever authors, especially when I was younger, when authors would write their books in like chunks and have it separated, like the page break separators or whatever, like the stars or indents, and not have chapters. It used to drive me up the wall because then I always felt like I just had to read the book all in one sitting because I feel like I couldn't stop. I've gotten better about it. And if I have to stop in the middle of a chapter, which happens, I can. I don't like to, but I will. And every day I usually try to read like, depending on the book, but typically I try to read like 100 pages. Like I give myself a goal every day. Like I'm gonna read this many pages a day, and then by this day I should finish the book. I don't know why I'm like this. It's not even that I'm trying to finish the book quickly or anything, but I think part of me is because I want to read the next thing. Like I'm ready to just like move on, and even if the book is good. But I usually like set a goal for myself. So yeah, that's my weird little neurotic like neuroses of things I kind of do. I will mention also, because I don't know if this is in a future question or not, so I'll go ahead and say it. I don't know why, but I can never stop on the chapter 13. Again, I've gotten better about this, but when I first started reading, I used to be so superstitious, and I think I've carried that into like my adulthood, where I cannot stop on the chapter 13. Like if I start chapter 12, knowing I have to finish the chapter before I set this book down, I have to read chapter 13 to get like end on chapter 14. I don't know why I'm like this, but this is just one of the things I do. And side note, I kind of do this also when we're listening to music or anything, like in the car or like on the TV, and you're like moving up the volume. I will not let anybody let it stay on 13. Like you have to go above or below. Like you can't stay on 13. Don't know why. Like this has always been a thing of mine that I just do. I don't know why I do it. I am weird, but that is just, yeah, that's one of those weird things that I do with my books. So the fourth question is, do you eat or drink while reading? And I find it hard to do this. If anything, I will drink, like if it's a glass of wine or I make some tea or some coffee, but very rarely do I eat and read at the same time, because I'm also kind of a neat freak. If you couldn't tell with like my superstitions and stuff and like needing to end on chapters, I don't like my books to get dirty or messy, and so I just don't like any residue coming off on the pages. But also like just logistically, this is hard. I don't know how people do it. I wish that I could do it, but at the same time I don't, because I don't like getting my books dirty. But I don't know how you do it. Like just eating with the one hand and like holding, like how does the book not clip? I don't know. Like logistically, I don't know how this works or how this makes sense, especially if you're like trying to get it in your mouth and like you're looking at your food versus like not looking at the page and like losing your spot on the page. I commend people who can do it, but I literally cannot. So I will sometimes drink like wine or like I said, tea or coffee or something and like take sips of it in between and like set it down, but I cannot do it at the same time. It's just not possible for me. Okay, the next question is multitasking. Music or TV while reading? No, I do not like this. Again, like my reading habits have extremely evolved since I was a kid, and I used to have it like completely silent for me to focus on what I was reading. Like I could not at all comprehend any of the words on the pages if something was playing in the background, even instrumental stuff. Like I just could not. Again, I've gotten better, and I think when it's a really good book too, that helps keep my focus because I want to know what's happening. So I'm like really in tune and I find a rhythm. And when I find a rhythm, I can read in anything almost. And I do like kind of instrumental stuff sometimes when I'm reading, but not always. And if I do have something playing in the background or I want something in the background, so it's not just like silent, I will usually play like ambient noise, like a rainstorm or like a fireplace crackling or something. Like I like those kinds of noises and sounds versus like music, because if it's music, I get pulled into the music and I just want to listen to that instead of paying attention to what I'm reading. But I think definitely being with Tony has helped as well, because he will be playing video games and like talking to his friends on the games and stuff. But I like to sit beside him and like talk to the guys once in a while too, or just like watch what he's playing. And I get sucked into that sometimes. But so I've gotten better about like being able to focus in on the book. And again, like I said, it helps when it's a really good book and I can't help but not pay attention to it, if that makes sense. All right, the next question is one book at a time or several all at once? This depends. If I have a lot of books due at the library, then yeah, it's all of them at once, whether it's 5 or 6. I'll do it. I typically don't. Usually I'm only reading one at a time, but once in a while I get into that mood where like I'm reading a couple at a time, especially if I'm listening to something on an audiobook that I don't have the physical copy for, or like vice versa. Like if I have the physical copy but not the audiobook, like I might be listening to something in the car and then like reading another book like when I'm at home or at work on break or things like that. Those are typically the only times I am like reading more than one book at a time, but usually I'm only reading one book at a time. But if it is several, it's usually like 2, maybe 3 at most. I have juggled more than that before all at once, and I can do it, but it's not the most pleasant experience. All right, the next question is reading at home or everywhere? And I literally read everywhere. Any chance that I get where I'm in the mood to read, I will read. Like I bring a book literally everywhere I go for that reason, because I never know if I'm not gonna have service on my phone, or, you know, I could have a really good book that I just wanna read, and like I find like I'm in the mood for it. If I'm waiting in a doctor's office or on break at work, or like I just get in the mood for it, I always make sure to have a book on hand. And I think that's how I read so fast too, is because, or like get through books so quickly, is because I always have a book with me for that reason. So yeah, I'll literally read anywhere. Typically I read more at home just because I'm more relaxed and have more time and can focus a little bit more easily, but I can legit read anywhere. Moving right along to the next question is reading silently in your head or reading out loud. As a kid in high school, like when I first started getting into reading, it was about my middle school years, was when I first started getting into it. And high school is like where I reached my peak. Like I don't think I will ever read as much as I did in high school, like all at once or as quickly as I used to. But when I was in high school, I definitely would read out loud to myself. And I used to like get sore throats and stuff from that. And mom would be like, why are you coughing all the time? I'm like, I was reading this book. And like, it would be embarrassing at times, like when my mom or dad would like come knock on my door to be like, oh, dinner's ready or something. And I'm just like sounding like a nerd or freak, just reading out loud to myself in my room. But I love doing it because I am an actress at heart, and theater is like my thing. And theater was what I did all through high school too, like at school and community theater and all that kind of stuff. So, and that's actually what I went to college for. But so I used to love to do like the voices and pretend I was like the main character. So that was an outlet for me, and it gave me a reason to like try new things. And like, it gave me, what's the word I'm looking for? It was a nice way for me to feel like I was cast like in this movie version of this book, of whatever it was I was reading at the time. That was my way of like living out my dreams, of like being a big actress and like on screen and like being the main character in all these books that I loved. So I used to do it. I do not do it anymore. I don't know that I would like to. I've tried a couple of times, but it's just not, I don't care to do it anymore. It's just not my thing anymore. I'd rather just read silently in my head, because I also read faster that way when I'm just reading silently to myself versus like out loud. So not anymore, but I did used to. The next question is, do you read ahead or skip pages at all? Absolutely not. I do not like things being spoiled. I don't like things being given away. The only exception, the only time like I kind of read ahead is if I happen to glance down the page, or like if it's the chapter's about to end, you know, and it like ends on the next page. Like it's the 2 pages and it's a full page and like a half page, and like it's a really good scene and I'm like, no, the chapter's ending, and like I happen to glance over at like that half page, like the last sentence. I do that sometimes, but it's involuntary. Like I can't help it. I don't know why my eyes do this, or why my brain just wants to pick up on like the last paragraph of that chapter to ruin it for myself, but I do this sometimes. I don't mean to though. I don't like reading ahead. I don't like skipping pages, because I am investing in this book and I want to ride the ride. I want to have the experience. Now, if it's a bad book and one I feel like I'm about to give up on, I might skip ahead or like, but most of the time I just look up reviews or look up like, okay, does this get any better? Or like, what's the synopsis? And like, I'll read maybe like a couple of sentences of the synopsis, like ahead of where I'm at in the book. And like, does this get any better? But that's probably the only time I ever like jump ahead or anything. Like I don't like skipping ahead if I can help it, just because, like I said, the author wrote it in this way for a reason, and I want to ride the ride and have that experience of every single moment versus like skipping things, because again, and you don't even know if what you're skipping is super important. And I think that's what gets me, is like, I don't want to miss out on something that I'm supposed to know, or it would make me appreciate the book a little bit more, like having those inside scoops, because I love when authors do that. So no, I do not skip ahead or read ahead. On accident sometimes, but most of the time I don't like to. All right, we got 2 questions left. So this one, breaking the spine or keeping it like new? I think it is a sin to break the spine. Let me preface this with, if it's your book, you have every right to do with it as you please. Every right. If you want to break that spine, break it. Who am I to tell you any different? Me personally, with my books, no. I just don't like it. I mean, I get why people do it. It makes it easier to read, and that's the whole point, is to read the book. And like, I mean, it's kind of the same thing if you like go into your house and it's like, okay, but this, like you're cleaning it and everything and getting it nice, and it's like, it doesn't even look lived in. Like, I don't know, that's a horrible analogy. I'm going off track, but I just don't like it. It drives me up a wall. Like, I physically cannot do that to a book. I can't. Again, you have the right to do whatever you want with your books, and I'm not judging anybody that does it. But for me personally, I can never do it. They're like my babies almost. They're like collectibles to me. And while they're like an interactive collectible, something I can pick up and read and do with it what I want, I can't find the heart to just dismantle a book like that. I just can't. I can't do it. I can't. All right, and the last question is, do you write in your book? If you can guess from the answer to my last question, no, I don't write in my books. I, again, wish that I could. This one more so than breaking the spine. I wish that I could write in my books, because, there are times where I love a quote or something speaks to me and I just want to highlight it or like write on it. And I just can't bring myself to do it. And I know a lot of people do it and they annotate their books, and I think that's so cool, and I really wish that I could do it. The closest that I get though is just sticking a sticky note in there or like writing down the quote. I do write down quotes a lot. So I just like have a notes page like in my notes app, and I'll just like, I have a running list of quotes from books, and I'll like write the page number and like the title of the book. But I just cannot bring myself to write in my books. Again, they're like collectibles to me, and I just can't bring myself to damage them in any way. I know they're mine, and more than likely they'll always be mine, but at the same time, I purge my books quite a bit too, so I just don't like the idea of giving that up. And I see the other side of it too, like if you've written in the books and then you give them up in like a secondhand shop, whatever, and then people can find, things that you fell in love with. No, they're never gonna know you or that it was you, but I like that idea too, of like people finding those little things that spoke to you and kind of understanding the person who owned this book a little bit better. I love that idea. I think it's a really cool idea, but I just can't bring myself to do it. I've tried, and the closest I get is writing in textbooks. But again, I only do that if it's my textbook. Please don't write in books that are not yours. I will say that. You think it would go without saying, but don't do that in library books. You would be surprised at how many freaking books that are turned back into us that are written in, highlighted, and these aren't even like research books. These are novels. And I'm like, guys, come on. This is not your book. You don't own this. I digress. But no, I don't write in my books. I kind of wish that I could, but I just can't bring myself to do it. All right, everybody, that is it for this video. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help out my channel. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you get notified anytime I post a new video. I'd love it if you stuck around. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had fun making it because you got a little glimpse into my life, as crazy as it is in my reading habits. It tells you who I am as a person and just all my little secrets, but you know, it's fine, we're all friends here. So if you've done this video, I would love it if you linked it down below. I would love to take a look at your videos. If you want to answer these questions, if you don't make videos or anything, you just want to answer them in the comments, that's cool too. I would love that. But until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.